welcome back to another quick tutorial on Medieval Dynasty. In this video we will be going over double paths, which has been requested by Matt.
Don't worry, Big Daddy will help you.
The most important thing about paths is they are all cosmetic, 100% cosmetic. These paths that we create, this is all just for looks. It does nothing for your villagers in terms of logic. However, the paths that are pre-made by the game, so you'll notice I've got an extra path, this is mine, next to the original path. This path the villagers will use for their pathfinding. They will walk along these roads, and then when they get close enough to where they need to go, say their house, they will shortcut across the grass. Doesn't matter what they're walking along, they'll go, oh yep, there's my house, I'll go here. Regardless of whether your paths are, they do not care because your paths are all cosmetic. One way of ensuring that your villagers use the paths is to actually border your buildings and block off any open areas. That way they're not going to be walking across the grass. You're just going to have to put up fences or put up more buildings to guide them to where you want them to go. For example, I have fenced this housing complex area, or in the middle of fencing it, and that'll ensure that they will walk around on this pathway before they find the gate to enter, and then once they get here they will just walk wherever they want to go. So if this is their house, they will just walk straight across here. They will walk the most direct and quickest way to get to where they need to go to, as well as I believe they avoid animal spawns, meaning they won't just walk off straight into the wild, which is why they have these pre-made paths that they use for pathfinding. Where do you put your paths and how do you path along? This is all up to you because it is cosmetic. You can choose to do it however you want to. So if I go to my map, you can see my pathways. I've gone quite rigid along here. I've set up suburbs. So this will be my housing suburb. You can see that I've made more of like a curve come in. I've got a roundabout or a garden area that's going to be set up. This has gone rigid again. This is all based on the compass. Down here you can see the same thing. This was the little suburb I had. This pathway just follows the coastline. You can see the difference between my pathway and the original pathway on the game. So the villagers will walk along these ones. This is what they use for their pathfinding. For example, if you get a villager from Piestovia, so that'll be just over on this area here, you've got a encampment. When you recruit them, they'll walk along this path all the way along here, straight down. Once they get to about here, it depends on where their house is. If their house is down here, they will continue down this pre-made path and then veer off. If their house or workplace is over here, they will cut across this grass and go directly to their workplace or house. I've already got a few videos on how to do paths on the compass or via the compass. You also got to remember your road or your pathway is counted as a building. So I've got a few deer spawns here. If I start building in this area, these spawns will disappear. You'll notice that this whole area where I've built, there are no animal spawns. So if you want to delete or remove animal spawns, the quickest and easiest way is to actually just have a direct path to remove the spawn, as well as make a safe way for you to get from point A to point B. And this is a reminder, don't forget to subscribe, like and share to enjoy more from this beautiful fella. He is the #1 Big Daddy. Let's jump on to the important aspect of pathing, and that is compass. So go north, south, east, west, whatever you want to do. For this one, I will go at a diagonal, so I'm going to go northeast. It is possible, instead of going north east, west and south for your pathing, you're more than welcome to go northeast or even on the other nodes. Same with cutting through your cross. Now if we look at the map, you've got a nice little cross there, and that's not going directional north, south, east. So you can make this up however you want to, and when it comes to getting these in line, I just stand in the middle. I do this visually, and then I would start from there. And if I wanted to continue, I would do the opposite. So we're going northwest, start just on the edge of the path if you want to do a cross, and then we go. There, now we've got a cross, and that's how you get a straight path on the compass. Oh, some deer. I had a question regarding on how to double path. Double pathing takes a little bit of time. To get this just right, you need to have the spacing not perfect, but consistent. This here is a pre-made path. I'm gonna veer off from this one. We will go via the compass just to make this easier. So we're gonna do a rigid double path. So we're gonna start here. Just gonna make a line, stop here. So the first path I do is going to be the benchmark for the remainder or the rest of the paths. And for double pathing, what I like to do is I just like to eyeball this out. Is just hit the darkness. So I'm going to do multiple. So I'm going to do one with what I would consider good spacing and one with terrible spacing. It's hard to gauge, but just at the edge of the end of the path, you can see it's got this brief dirt line here that sort of just vaguely cuts into the grass. You want to be just a little bit off from that, and then we go. And right there. And the reason we want to go a little bit off is you want to keep that tiny little vague line in the middle. So that is a very tight double path. If we were to do that again, so there's our line right there. I'm going to come over a little bit more, give it a bit more spacing, and then go. Because this is a little bit disruptive, so if you see that, this is how close I was in the first one. I've gone a little bit further, so it's a little bit wider. If I delete this, you'll see this a lot better on the center. This is a terrible day for a tutorial, but we can still see what we have. So here we did the double paths. This is a wider pathway. You'll see that darker dirt is the outside of the original path, and the lighter part of the dirt is your actual path. So there we've got that, and there's the center of the next one. So depending on your spacing, you can make these as wide or as narrow as you want. However, if I go too narrow, if I come over just enough to get my node active, this is going to be terrible. Look, watch this. There's no difference between the pathway. So what it's done is it's gotten rid of the light part of the pathway, and then it's just kept the dark. For example, there's still two pathways, but it looks like there's only one and a half. So it just does not look very well. So this one has overlaid the first one. If I do that again, it will shove itself over and overlay the next one. So if we move over, so we just get active and we roll down, you can see it's the first one has overlaid the second one I've done, so it's got the outside of its pathway, and you can just see a very small slither of the second pathway. But if you look at that, that does not look nice. It doesn't have the same aesthetic as this one, which has got better spacing. So the spacing is very important. However, if we go too far, that's when you run into some other issues. Just active here, that's terrible spot. This will be about right. This is generally where I'll go, or about here. But if I go too far, say here, you notice this green stuff in the middle, that's grass. That means you stuffed it up. You don't want that either. So going too far along can make it look not as nice. If you do want to have this aesthetic, do understand if you want to have some growth in the middle to have a little bit of a different look to your village. So that's a no. this will be about right, and coming a little bit further over here will be in the danger zone. So we're going, oops, I went off kilter there. That one I did again, but I tried to go a little bit closer. You can see the center is not as wide as this one. And then we're going to go even narrower again, just to get that fine-tuning the perfect space. So here is about perfect. I want to go here to deliberately stuff it up. So you notice this is much better, but I did kilter off at the end there. That was my bad. But we've still got one piece of grass. So you're going to still have a little bit of a gap in between your pathways. This one you have the smallest gap in between the double paths that allows a few extra grass pieces to remain. Then you've got one that is slightly bigger, still got a little bit. It looks okay. Then you have got this one here which just looks a bit too chunky depending on the grass itself. Some grass pieces just don't look as nice. So if you had one of these in the middle of the pathway, that'll be annoying because it just looks like someone hasn't weeded the area. You haven't had enough horses come along this pathway. Then let's go super wide. So let's say you went all the way up here. So this one here just looks like you've done two separate paths. These are too far apart to be considered a double path. So these are your different sort of levels. And it's something, so getting it like this is just something you have to eyeball. It's something that you have to figure out on your own. And when you do intersect, you do want to be careful on which one you do first. So there is a priority. If this is my incoming main road and I want to veer off, or I want this to be my secondary road, wherever I put my first pathway, that's going to layer over the top. What that's done is I have made this the top of the T. That means this is considered the secondary road because I've layered this as an intersection. However, if we want to keep this one as the main incoming road, what we want to do is we want to continue this and we want this to be laid down first. So your main road needs to be done first, and then your secondary pathway should be coming off second. I'm going to come in center of this pathway, continue it down. Sweet, I've continued my double path. Do the same thing on this side here, and there is where the little mistake lies, which is going a little bit too far apart. And the reason for that, you can actually see where I've gone off kilter. See, this one has gone a little bit wider and this one has gone a little bit wider. Both of those together have created a mistake. So the best way to avoid that is to have your hammer on destroy and use this as your guide. See how I can actually see where the center is? I'm going to come over just a little bit because I know that my other pathway has moved over, and then when I come across, no grass in the middle. Don't forget to use your build and destroy to be able to see where your actual pathway is. So use this to your advantage. Then as we continue, say this is my intersection here, I'm going to go south. We're going to just keep this rigid for this one. We're going to go a little bit further because we don't want this to disrupt the main road. So if you go a little bit more, then start, you can see you've got just that darker dirt, then the road starts. It may seem like this is getting very technical, but if you want to have something that looks beautiful or you want it to look nice, then taking your time with this is the way to go. So we're going to start at the same spot, going south again. There we go. So you can see the distance in between these paths is a little bit different. So this is definitely a main road. It's a little bit wider, got a broader point in the middle. On the odd occasion, there may be a few things that are left in the middle. Some of those are just collectibles, so you can just pick those up. So don't worry about those ones. And that's how you do an intersection. Let's say we're going to curve off from here, and this is where we're going to have some fun. So you can use this. You'll notice I'm doing it every 3 nodes. So that's a bit of a curved path. I got that spacing a little bit incorrect there. Let's see if we can fix this on this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out here. And then at this point, this is where I should have gotten a little bit closer there to make them join. We're going south on this one. and then we veered off. So this one is one you have to keep an eye on. If I keep this spacing in between me and the original path, we should keep it fairly well. You can see the spacing is fairly consistent. It's passable. You are going to have these weird intersections here, but that's just because you're turning and the land is going to have a little bit of a difference. But there you have it. And that's come to the end of this little video about pathing and how to double path. Remember, spacing is everything. The spacing wrong and that can change the look. And the main thing to remember is that pathing is purely cosmetic, and if you want to guide your villagers along your paths, this is where fences come in handy. So thanks for joining us for the evolution of noob to victor. We will hopefully see you in the next one.